Hey everyone, welcome to a new video. I hope you had a great day. If you would like to help me grow this channel, please hit the like button, it really helps. And now let's take a look at some new malicious compliance stories, shall we? The first story is called One More Serving. Back in university, I used to work in different hotels as a waiter. It was usually for bigger events requiring some extra staff. In this particular case, a Scandinavian bank had invited their best salespeople to a trip to Berlin, all drinks included. PSA to everyone, never let Scandinavians drink as much as they want to, it might get messy. My table sure was the loudest one. These folks were having the time of their lives. After some eating and drinking, the buffet was roped off, meaning closed, and the higher-ups had some speeches. One man on my table just loved the fruit salad and would ask me again and again to cross the ropes and get him just one more serving of it. I'm service, so I serve, all good. On the 4th or 5th trip, the head waiter of the night stopped me. He said, "This is the last time you're bringing food to your table. We got our rules here and I expect your guests and you to comply." So this one last time I crossed the rope. As I was ordered to not go again, I did not fill up the small bowl. Instead, I picked up the giant bowl containing quite some pounds of fruit salad, had to be carried with 2 hands. I put the smallest coffee spoon I could find on top and brought it to my table. The dear drunk Scandinavians thought this was hilarious, everybody laughed and enjoyed themselves. But the head waiter was not amused, he fired me right there in front of them. But this was fine for me, it was just some job, and my credo for service work is guests always come first. As I said goodbye to my table, they slipped me a fat $100 tip, because they felt bad for me. And I got paid for the full night too. The next story is called Loaded First. I've been working with logistics for about 17 years now and gained a bunch of experience. My main occupation has been import loading and discharging roll-on roll-off vessels. Most of those have a ramp in the aft which all loading and discharging goes through, unlike passenger ferries where you can open a hatch in the fore since it's easier to drive on and then drive off. Some 12 years ago, a VIP customer for a truck manufacturer called our office and I got the call. He informed me that he had gotten the number from the agency because he had certain instructions for the loading of a special truck. Okay, so I hear him out. Turns out this truck is going on exhibition somewhere on the continent and is a bit late from the factory. To save some time, he had hired some photographer that would take some photos of the truck when it rolled off the vessel in the receiving port. He was very insistent that we load it first so it would come off first. Now in our industry we have a term for express cargo that is LOFO, last on, first off. This means we load the unit last on deck so that it will be first off. I explained this to him, but he insisted that we load it first, probably thinking we operated passenger ferries while in fact we operated cargo vessels. So I once again tried to explain, but he would not listen. I finally just gave in and said, "Okay, I'll load it first," thinking I will load it last to make sure it comes off first thing. We hang up. I thought that was it. Now I can plan the rest of the operation and mind my own business. Moments later, the agency called and told me the customer had called them being very concerned that his unit won't be loaded first. Now I know the people in the agency very well, since we talk several times a day and they know me also. And they also know how the vessels are designed and in which order operation goes. They also tried to explain, but the customer still insisted. Now I also got some additional information about the photographer in the receiving port. He was hired by the hour, so it was important that he does not need to wait in vain. So we agreed that we load the truck according to the LOFO principle for the sake of the customer. He does not need to know. Time passes, the vessel arrives and we start operation. The truck also enters the port. It looked kind of cool, kitted with everything extra you could think of. Also, the customer calls and asks why we have not loaded the truck yet. There's a GPS unit in it that will let the customer know of any movements. So I explained that we are still discharging and can't load it yet. But the vessel arrived an hour ago. I see no point in trying to explain, since he's already up, so I just tell him we're going to start loading soon. He hangs up. Moments later, the agency calls again. Obviously he has been bugging them and they just want to let off some steam. So we laugh a bit about it and then we decide to move the truck onto the vessel so that his damn GPS will make a ping. Right after we hung up, the customer calls again and demands that we load the truck now. Okay, we will load it now, I say, and hang up, somewhat annoyed by now. I'm used to this behavior. In logistics, it seems that the one making the most noise gets their way. I never take it personally and I don't really care. I always try to make the best solution for everyone. Anyhow, now the manager for the agency calls me and wants to know where the customers are railed up. So I explain to him and he's like okay with the explanation. He knows me and knows that what I'm saying is correct, but asks me to hurry up with the loading. So I radio one of the stevedores to put the truck somewhere on the main deck where it won't be in the way. We will move it later so that it will be positioned as one of the first units off. The customer calls a few minutes later, since the GPS probably reported movement. Now this was not so hard, was it? I should not have to call managers to get things done around here, should I? I simply reply without why, you are welcome, and hung up. Now I'm actually annoyed for real. Sometime later, the stevedores let me know they've emptied the lower hold, the part that takes the longest to discharge but is the quickest to load. So I tell them to put the truck in the deepest corner of the lower hold. The customer should be satisfied with it being loaded first, as per request. So we fill the rest of the vessel, I send a report to my manager and the agency about what happened and went home. 36 hours later, the vessel arrives at the receiving port. The photographer is in place, also the customer, as I got told about later on. I can only imagine how boring the raid must have been. A week later, the agency received a written complaint from the customer that he had to pay the photographer for the raid, but it felt kind of low effort. Not a word unloaded first. I think the customer finally understood and learned his lesson. Years later, I actually met the customer in person, and he turned out to be a really nice person. We've had many dealings with each other since then. I even asked if he remembered the truck incident. He did. It was his first big assignment, and he was so stressed out about it. Go figure. Anyway, we have a good relationship between us, the agency, the port, and the customer now. The third story is called Careful What You Demand. My oldest daughter met her now husband shortly after they both graduated high school through her sister's, daughter 2, boyfriend at the time. Both are pretty shy, but they hit it off immediately. Lots of common interests and just plain old chemistry. This would have been around 2013 or so. A couple of years later, both were going to community college and the classes were closer to our house. So we talked to our son-in-law and asked him if he would be interested in sharing rides, to which the answer was yes, because that would save him and his parents lots of money, time and effort. But he was having issues trying to figure out logistics, getting to our house on time, given his parents' work schedules, etc. We eventually asked him if he just wanted to move in with us, to make life easier. Daughter's idea. His parents were not big on the idea at all, pretty religious and not big on premarital anything. But we assured them that he would not be sharing a room with her. Fast forward a few months and they somehow figure out that they were not in fact in separate bedrooms, but rather sharing a bed. Now we did not just tell them one thing and turn around and do something else. The relationship developed and eventually it was just time and space saving to have them share a room. Plus, our family is not religious and has no problems with what two people in love do as long as they do things correctly, which they did. His parents were not happy at all. And they let him know it too, not us, him. His father, very active in the church as an elder also, basically told him that he didn't appreciate his son disrespecting another man, me, by sleeping with his daughter before marriage in his house. They insisted that he move back in with them, no matter how inconvenient it might be to everyone with regard to classes. He asked them if he could finish out the week and go back home with them on the weekend. They reluctantly agreed, since that actually made sense for everyone's schedule. Reason for once. By the end of the week, they had eloped. And his parents were even more unhappy at that point. But there was pretty much nothing they could do. Son-in-law and daughter had addressed the issue. To top things off, yes, people make mistakes in life, but the main complainant was his dad. As I said, he was very active in the church, but we didn't find out until later that he actually has a son from an affair years earlier. So, yeah. The last story is called Only Maintain It. So my fiancé and I have a pool company that comes to our house once a week. He happens to be related to my fiancé's best friend, but we still pay him his rate because we wanted to support his business. He's been maintaining our pool for, I want to say, a little over a year now, and we haven't had any issues. He actually helped us get the parts we needed to fix a lot of things in our pool for just above at cost, and he's been an all-around awesome guy. I'm not sure what changed. But for the last couple of months I've noticed if I don't sit outside and converse with him, he generally will come in, skim the pool, empty the basket, throw some chlorine tabs in the float and leaves in a matter of minutes. And this would be fine. However, now that we are getting deeper into the hot summer, we've noticed a slow growth of black algae growing in some of the cracks and along the tile. Granted, our pool is a little on the older side and is definitely overdue for resurfacing, but the algae can easily be scrubbed out when it starts to get noticed. You would think that the pool guy would do this at some point. He has not. I've noticed these last couple of months he's been doing the absolute bare minimum to maintain the water. And because of the algae, by the 6th day after, the pool is already starting to get green and cloudy. He just puts more chlorine in it to clear the water and then goes on his way. Well, my daughter's birthday is coming up soon and we intended to have a pool party. But even at its clearest, this pool had so many black algae built up that neither of the kids even want to swim in it anymore. So with 2 more pool guy days to go before the party, I decide the day beforehand to scrub the absolute crap out of the tiles, the walls and all the cracks. This lifts it all off the surface and floats it into the water. About 30 minutes in, the water is so green, gross and cloudy you can't even see the bottom. By the next day, which was yesterday, when he was scheduled to come to do his weekly drop-by, the pool almost looked like a swamp. I watched him through the window when he arrived and saw the absolute disappointment as he shook his head and began to skim the surface and then proceeded to dump in the chemicals. The number of different chemicals I watched him pour in probably cost him more than what we pay him for the whole month. And now here I am, the next morning, and I'm sitting happily beside the clear pool, drinking my coffee, planning where I'm going to put the decorations for the party. Thanks for watching the video, I hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't already, please hit the like button, and if you want more content, please subscribe to the channel, it really helps. I hope you have a great day, stay safe, bye bye.